Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to have you here today because today's subject is about product research without using software, which is something that a lot of people have gotten very dependent on. And I'm very passionate about this subject. And if you're new here, then you should check out my other playlist with more product research videos because I do not use software to find products. So in today's video, this is a part of the Seller Sessions podcast where I am a co-host. I had one of my good friends on, Anna Davidson, who is also a longtime Amazon seller. And we went back and forth about the different methods that we use for product research, which do not include any softwares whatsoever. Just before we get into it, in case you're new here, my name is Sharon Evan, and I am a seven-figure Amazon FBA seller. I'm also a mother and a wife, an entrepreneur, and an Amazon FBA coach. If you're interested in more Amazon FBA videos, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also hit that like button if you liked this video. Now, just before we get into it, finding a product is one of the hardest things for most new sellers and also old school sellers too, because Amazon keeps on changing. Amazon keeps on changing. So I have a product research and sourcing course, which is an in-depth course for finding, validating, differentiating, niching down, developing, and sourcing a product to sell on Amazon. It is extremely in-depth, and we also meet every single week for weekly group calls. So I encourage you to have a look at that. I'm going to put a link to that in the description below. I think that it's probably one of the best courses when it comes to product research and sourcing. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the video. I am Sharon Evan, and today I have the beautiful Anna Davidson with me. Thank you for being here, Anna.
Thanks for asking me. It's fun. I can't wait to get stuck into this topic.
Yeah, so we actually already did this podcast on yesterday, on Thursday, but we had a few internet issues. So in order to make sure that the listeners on the podcast have the best audio, we are re-recording this, which means it's going to be even better than what we did yesterday. Yeah, so Anna's got heaps and heaps of experience, which is going to be very needed for today's topic, because today we're speaking about how to do product research in 2021 without softwares. Now, some people are going to have a heart attack. What? How am I supposed to do product research without softwares? So this is probably one of the questions that we get asked very, very often, not only by newbie sellers, but also from sellers who started selling like 3 or 4 years ago, because the game has changed so much in the last, at least 2 years minimum, that it means that today you can't use the same methods that we were using, 2 or 3 years ago. So just before we start giving a little bit of golden nuggets here, I just want to explain for both of us to give our 2 cents on why, in our opinions, because it's our opinions and our experience, today using software to find products. We both use software for many things, but as a starting point to find products can be very, very, I'm even going to say dangerous. So we'll start off. I want to quickly say, I'm so passionate about this. I just want to quickly say my 2 cents on it. And then we'll move over to you, Anna. I believe that the reason people need to get outside of softwares as a starting point for product research is because they're given parameters, right? Most people are given these like they're if it doesn't fit in this box, if it doesn't make this amount of money, if it doesn't do this. And what happens is people go onto a software like Jungle Scout, Viral Launch, HELIUM 10, and they'll go in and put in these parameters, and then everyone ends up seeing the same types of products. And then we get like a whole niche that's really, really saturated with all these sellers coming from that specific software and all launching at the same time. And that's been my experience from, the last 5 years now selling on Amazon, and also through my coaching as well. So that's why I don't believe in using softwares as a starting point.
Yeah,
What's your opinion on that, Anna?
Yeah, I totally agree, because I think it makes me sound old, but back in my day when I first started on Amazon, I remember when Jungle Scout was launched. It was a really big deal, and it's a little bit like now all the cars have got sat navs, and we used to use A to Zs, and I was a sales rep for years ago on the road, so it's the only analogy that I can relate to. So I think that over this time, since I've been on the Amazon marketplace, you know, it's got very competitive. There's lots of niches now that are really saturated, and yes, these softwares can help, but like you say, everybody's using these softwares, so it's going to actually long term just create even more saturation, isn't it? And I do think that people forget what we're actually trying to do and overcomplicate this whole business, because buying and selling products has always been around, you know, offline, obviously, for many, many years. And we've seen this last 12 months, you know, e-commerce grown by years in that time frame. But it's all about finding the customer and finding the needs of that customer and solving problems, really. And yeah, I totally agree. I think we'll all, you know, unless there's some new software that's going to look at another dynamic, we're all looking at the same thing. So we've got to kind of think outside the box a bit.
That's exactly it. Think outside the box, because, you know, everyone is in this, like, I call it a box because you know, it's all these courses, etc., are all teaching these like certain different like parameters, right? And then you got to get outside of that. So
yeah, and the tools are good. Like, I use the tools and softwares, but it's using it in a different way, isn't it, than probably maybe the software companies are teaching it, because of course they want those softwares to be used in that way.
We just want to make sure that people know we're not bashing softwares. We both use softwares every single day, but we don't use softwares as a starting point to find products. That is not our starting point. We use softwares for the keywords, for the market analysis, the competitor analysis, but not as a starting point. And that is what we're going to move into now, on different starting points for product research. So what we're going to do is we're going to bounce off each other. Each of us will say a different method that we use for product research.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to start off with Anna.
I was also just going to add to that and say it's exactly what you said, and it's just to remember that you're initially got two steps, haven't you, in product research? You've got the research, you kind of getting ideas and looking at opportunities, and then you've got that validation, and that's where these softwares come in. So just like Sharon said, we're not saying don't use these softwares, but use them more in that validation section of it, really. So my first one then, it's interesting because we did this all yesterday, but my first one has got to be social media, because I mean, social media has grown as well over the years, hasn't it? Always used to just be Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn back in my day, again, making myself look old. And now we've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, we've got Clubhouse recently.
Pinterest.
And Pinterest, yeah. And Pinterest actually is something I'm spending a lot of time on recently, because I think it's just it's a great social media platform for people selling products. You know, whenever I'm searching for products that I want to buy, if I go into Google, as soon as I click images, it's Pinterest links. So Pinterest is a great place to really start. You've obviously got to start with an idea of a niche, but then when you're moving into that niching down, you can really find some really cool ideas using Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. So what my tip is, and I know you've got an awesome tip that you're going to share in a bit, but because I thought it was a great idea. I go and like lots of pages or follow people on Instagram, and then I know that I'm going to be targeted for paid advertising. So I'll get to see all of these different sort of new products that are coming, and just, it's not necessarily that I'll go and copy that product. It just fuels an idea to then go and research something else. So yeah, social media. So, you know, if you're thinking of sports and fitness, just go and, you know, follow or like loads of different sports and fitness type pages, because then you'll be retargeted for ads. And you can also just keep an eye on things that are going on in that particular niche.
Yep. So first of all, I love that. And I think that social media is just an amazing starting point for, again, it's not that it's a starting point necessarily, like you said, because you've got to have like an idea first, right? You could randomly, when you make a Pinterest account, they do ask you for all sorts of interests and things like that. And according to things that they see that you're looking at, they'll show you more things, but you still need a starting point, right? So you do need to think of different starting points, and maybe we can touch on that really soon as well. But one of first of all, social media, like I said, I think is amazing. One of the things that I do when it comes to Instagram specifically, and this is what Anna said that we spoke about yesterday, is I was going to share my screen, but I'm not going to share it today. Well, I'll just explain what it is that I do. So one of the things I do is I have basically an Instagram account which is just for product research, meaning it's not my actual account. It's just, look at it as if it's like a fake account basically. And in that account, I follow lots and lots and lots of different shops or different accounts, whatever it may be, to do with different things that I'm interested in, right? So I'm just flicking through, I'll share my screen for the sake of you seeing it too, Anna. So I can see that I am following on this account all sorts of different products, all sorts of different accounts like baby. And there is even an account that I follow, which is an account for like miniature products. There's a lot of people that buy, you can see here, like it's called 𝗩𝗢𝗨𝗥𝗢𝗗𝗏 or something like that. And it's all sorts of different like miniature products. And I didn't even know that was like a hobby that people have, right? And I also follow a lot of different decor, depending on when you are, accounts from overseas, from really big brands, right? And I follow, for example, all sorts of 3D printing accounts. And I just follow a lot of different types of accounts, and many of them are from overseas. And what happens then is that when I'm going through my feed, I'm seeing all these different products consistently because it's accounts that are selling something. So what they put inside of their images are products, right? The people using their products. That was one of my little, hacks of how I use Instagram. And you can sometimes get amazing ideas. Like currently on the screen, there is a baby brand that I follow in Poland called 𝗩𝗢𝗨𝗏, 𝗩𝗢𝗨𝗏. And right now we have an image where it's got like, 7 or 8 different products in the image. So I use Instagram in that way, and I am able to get a lot of different ideas from doing that. I think that it's one of my favorite ways really to do product research.
It's funny because I do exactly that, but it's all mixed up with my own account. So I think what's really good about that is that you've got it separated, and it's something that I've taken away, because then it's just cleaner, isn't it? You've just got it all in one place.
I used to do that. I used to do it on my private account. And then I was like, but it's getting mixed up, right? And that's one. And two, also because we have a lot of sellers following us, I didn't want them to see what I was following, all these different brands. So I've even got 2 of those like burner accounts. One where it's actually my own for product research, and then one where it's like one that I actually show other people, this is how you do it. So yeah, I think that's a really awesome method. And I think that just like in general, social media is probably like one of the most, amazing things for expanding on your ideas and for looking for differentiation as well.
And I also think that it comes in when you're within the market research point. So it comes in, it's all part of your research, isn't it? You get the idea, you then look at one of the softwares to check all the keywords. You'd be thinking about, how can I be different than the competition, and maybe a variation in some way. But then you can also then go and test the market by going to the market and asking questions. You could create a group on Facebook. We were talking about it recently in the Clubhouse. You could go in Clubhouse. There's loads of rooms in there that are kind of people are talking on different topics. Because I think we assume a lot. I've realised that over the years. We make assumptions, and by testing those assumptions is when you get the real facts really. So we've all got different opinions on lots of different things, and it's hard sometimes to kind of get our opinion away from what the actual customer base wants. So you can also use, you know, social platforms as to get that initial idea, but also to actually test the market as well.
It's I think that's great advice. And one of the things that I do, we're not going to spend too much time speaking about buyer avatars today, because there are other sessions on it in this podcast on seller sessions about buyer avatars. But one of the key things I think that you said there is that you can make your own group, you can go on Clubhouse. Once you've found your potential product or your potential niche, then you need to figure out who it is you're selling to, right? You need to figure out who it is that who's your buyer avatar. A lot of people call it different things. I call it buyer avatar. And something that I do very often is that I'll find Facebook groups that already exist around my buyer avatar. And the example I gave when we recorded this yesterday was nurses. I said that, you know, if I was looking for products for nurses, then I went and got into all the different American nurses Facebook groups in order to understand, you know, what they're complaining about, what do they need, you know, and all these different things. So yeah, that's just another great tip, and I totally love that. Let's move on to another to your second product research method, and then I'll go after you.
My second one has to be marketplaces. So looking on eBay and Etsy are probably the main ones that I look on, and also of course when you've been looking at when you're going through social media, you end up going to people's websites or finding marketplaces that way. And you know, these days there's all sorts of different marketplaces popping up, aren't there? Sort of newer ones, and like there's even bol.com in the Netherlands that I discovered a few years ago, that works very similar to Amazon actually. So you know, it's not just eBay and Etsy, and we know that the customers are different, because Etsy, you know, it's more handmade type of customer base, and eBay, you know, for me, it's more of a bargain basement. But you can find products that there might be that golden egg opportunity where they're not even sold on Amazon. And I kind of found products like that where I've got in early, you know, then the market has become, you know, there's been other sellers that have started launching their versions of it. But I think that's a great way. And I use I suppose it's a software, it's a tool called Watch Count. But with Watch Count is telling you the most watched products on eBay. So you will also find a lot of things that might not be viable on there. But by digging deep and, like, you know, looking at different keywords in there, and it also does it by country as well, so you can look, you know, what's happening in the US. I just think it's just a great way to fuel different ideas, what's being sold on different marketplaces that maybe isn't so much on Amazon. So, yeah.
Do you also, because we're talking about marketplace specifically, and a lot of people teach to use Alibaba as a starting point, which I don't necessarily really like, but like Wish, Alibaba, DHgate, AliExpress, do you also use them?
I mean, I do kind of sometimes see, like, they'll put in new releases or hot sellers, but they tend to be the most saturated products, I think. So, but it, you know, sometimes you can just spot something, can't you? It's all maybe part of your research when you're on those kind of website portals, really, I think.
My difficulty,
I usually rely on, you know, it's not something I rely on.
My difficulty with, like, the Alibaba side of it is, because a lot of people teach this as a method, is when people teach to go to Alibaba and then you type in Amazon bestsellers or Amazon and things like that, and all these different products come up. And like you said, most of the time they're really saturated products, right? So I think one of the key things for me when it comes to product research is, and I just want to make this clear. I also wanted to say this in the beginning and I didn't. This, just because Anna and I don't use softwares for product research doesn't mean that other people don't, and that, you know, there's many people that do and it does work for them. In my experience, I just know a lot more that it doesn't, right? That's my experience. And when it comes to, for me, when it comes to product research, I'm less about selling random products and I'm more about brand building. And when you introduced yourself, you said, I've built a brand on this and I built a brand on this, because you're not just trying to sell one random, jade roller and then another random, home decor product and then another random, like all these random things. We're trying to again, today, this is my opinion for 2021. I think that it all comes back to, it's not just solving problems, but it's also understanding, what's your end goal? Are you trying to sell random stuff, or are you trying to build a brand and dominate, the page ones within your niche so that you've got more real estate on Amazon? And, when people are just being brainwashed because they're seeing you eventually, right? No, I'm not telling people to go and launch 20 products in a year, right? There's many people where it doesn't make sense for them. But that's one thing. And the second thing of why specifically when it comes to the Alibaba method, I really, really believe in differentiation. Like differentiation is one of the most important things to me. And we'll probably have to do like a totally different podcast on differentiation, because I can go on about differentiation all day long, right? I really could. I'm so passionate about the differentiation subject. And so I think that that's something that you have to take into, you have to take that into consideration when you're using something like Alibaba. But I think the marketplaces that you send are like, it's gold, Etsy, eBay, and you using watch count as well and things like that. And I love how you've said that you use other people's websites, because and in other countries as well, because I do that as well. Like there is a website, there's a retail store in Greece called Jumbo. Do you have that in the UK?
No, I don't think so.
And so in Greece and Cyprus, there's like this retail store called Jumbo, and it's kind of like a huge store that has literally everything, and it's like cheap stuff.
I feel like I've seen it. Was it in America initially, or maybe it's a Europe thing? Maybe I've seen it in Europe.
I don't know if I don't think it's in America, but it's got like the logo is pink and it's got this like big elephant and it's called Jumbo. Yeah. And every time we go to Greece, we always go, it's like a, I don't know, it's like a Target type of thing, right? Yeah. But there's always really, really trendy, like decor stuff there. And all these like trendy things that most of them are like, cheap stuff from China, but it always gets my mind thinking. Right? Like, hey, I could do this and I could do that. And I could take this product, but sell it to this person. And now we've been stuck at home for the last year plus. I haven't been, and I usually go to Greece at least a couple of times a year. It's close. Greece is not far away. And so I started going onto Jumbo's website, can't understand a word it says there because it's all in Greek, but just to try and see images. Just to see the products. So I love that you use those marketplaces. I think that's
and I think that's what it's about, like trying to fuel your ideas, like wherever it may be, where there's kind of like online shopping, which I don't know if you want me to go on to the next one, which brings me
Go for it.
I was going to say, like QVC channels, especially with everything that's happening on the horizon with Amazon Live and all that kind of stuff. But QVC channels have been going for years, haven't they? And I think just, even like you say, just actually going around the shops as well, and just fueling ideas, which might seem really basic stuff. It's just that so many people say, oh, I just don't know where to start with product research. And I just feel like there's tons of ideas. There's too many that I haven't got enough time to kind of implement. I do think though that I hear a lot of other experts or coaches and all that kind of stuff saying that don't go for products that you're interested in. Like, and I understand what they mean. I understand what they mean, because I think really the message is don't let your interest get carried away. So I was saying about how different people, like I have an opinion that's skewed, and actually you need to go and do the research to the market, because we kind of have our opinions and we don't realize that we assume a lot of things. But I do think it's important, and that's why, because we all know someone who's opened a restaurant in a place where there's no footfall of customers, but it's all because they love Greek food or whatever. They've opened this Greek restaurant in a place where there's just no one that's going to eat Greek food or whatever, or just nowhere that anyone's going to fill that restaurant. So it's important to not let get your ideas and passions carry away. You've got to do the work with the keywords and the numbers to make profit. But I think if you've got an interest in what you're selling and your brand, there's two reasons. It's more purposeful, and when that first sale comes in, you feel really proud that someone's buying your creation. And also, you will have ups and downs like any business, and having an interest in something and in a brand will keep that motivation going, I think. And thirdly, actually, which is actually probably more important than all of it, is you've got to understand your customer. So which is what you were saying about the avatar. So I think if you have an interest in that product, you will kind of have more passion around understanding the customer's needs. So
I think that's I'd love to say my opinion on that, but before we get into the what you said about the passion products, can you elaborate for the people? I'm sure most of the listeners know what we're talking about when we say like Amazon Live and things like that, but how can they use that for product research? I did speak about it a little bit yesterday, but it was when we were having issues on the thing. So how can they use it for product research? And maybe some people don't know what it is.
Yeah, so Amazon Live is, if you go to amazon.com, the US as yet, but it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be coming everywhere soon. And basically it's where there are live video demonstrations of your product. So a little bit like what I was saying about QVC. And there are influencers who are registered on Amazon who can do those demonstrations, but you can also, from what I gather, because I haven't done this yet, it's very new, you can actually kind of create your own from the brand and actually have like that video playing live, I think, because I can tell that when I've been on it, some of them are live and then some of them look a little bit pre-recorded. But I think that's a great way to go and look at product ideas as well. So
something I've noticed, I'm going to be honest, I don't understand Amazon Live to the T. I know a lot about it, but not like I still need to learn it a little bit better and actually start using it. But what I have seen is, so I was saying this also yesterday, and I think it's actually an important factor to say. I was in a Clubhouse room. I can't remember if you were in the Clubhouse room, and there was a TikTok influencer that was talking about how she markets people's products, and she's built all this following through, basically affiliate marketing, and she's telling people that they should buy this product and that product, etc. And then she said that Amazon had reached out to her to become an influencer on Amazon Live. So she basically has, I think it's called channels. She has her own channel on Amazon Live, and like there's influencers that are like doing their makeup while they're live, and there's underneath, there's like this row of all the products that they're using, and you can click on it and then you can go to the product. And not only that, like there's also I've seen a few people, but I've never seen
chat as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's a live chat where you can speak to them. It's like an actual person doing an Amazon Live, but I actually have hardly seen any brands. Most of it, what I've actually seen is influencers. Now, the ones that are on actual brands, they also show up on the actual product listing, like you said. But I think that going to the Amazon Live as well and watching like influencers speaking about, there's many, many different influencers and many, many different niches. And I think that's also a really great hack, because you don't necessarily even have to watch the entire live. You can just look at the products that they've tagged at the bottom, and that you've you're really quickly getting all these different ideas, but you can also hear, how they're using it and then see what people are typing in the chat. So I think Amazon Live's a great way to do product research. Great tip there.
And it's also going to expand, I'm sure, for brands. It's also good to go and check it out, I think.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. Now, to your other point about how there's many people who say it's not really a good idea to do passion products. Here's the thing. In my experience, you can build a brand, and even if you're not looking to build a brand, you can do well on Amazon by selling things that you don't necessarily care about, but you have to learn your niche as if you're your buyer avatar. However, I've seen it, like you said, that it's a lot more easier for people to build brands or to get into niches that they're actually passionate about. right? I've seen both sides of it. I have a guy going through an exit right now, that I've worked with, who he has a gardening brand, and he could not care less about gardening. When he started, he did not care about gardening, but he spent a lot of time on blogs and a lot of mummy blogs as well, to do with gardening and all these different gardening blogs. And he was learning about his very specific niche within the gardening. You know, it's a niche within the niche. And he was seeing, you know, what types of products, etc., they need. And he became his buyer avatar eventually, right? So he ended up falling in love with the gardening side of things. But when he started, he couldn't, you know, care less about it. And then you've got people also like me, but many people who have built brands around things they're passionate about or they love. And I do believe what you said is very true, because, you know, a lot of us are solopreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. Solopreneurs. And it's not that easy to wake up in the morning always and stay motivated, especially when, you know, you're going through a tough time in your business or whatever it is. And it makes it that much easier when you actually care about, you know, your actual product as well.
And I also think it doesn't have to be a massive big passion. And so this fits with what you said. You just have to have an interest. Because I've seen people who haven't got an interest, who are not like the guy that you were saying with the garden stuff, who are not prepared to go and, because sometimes you can see an opportunity that you know that could be for your dad. It's like your dad's niche, or you spot an opportunity that could be for children, or you hear someone talking about, you know, what their wish list is, not their Amazon wish list, but what they're talking about, like up and coming products. And you know that you haven't got an interest in it, but it interests you, you know, so it's something that you're going to do the research around. So that's what I kind of mean, because I know there's some people that have literally gone through the numbers, maybe gone down the software route, and they're picking things that they're not even prepared to go and find more about. They're just looking at the figures, the monthly sales, and thinking this product's going to make me 40,000 a month, you know. And they're going down that route, and then as soon as they hit a problem, that's it. They disappeared. I don't hear from them again. So and I think it's because they're just looking for this quick win, I suppose, and they're not really interested in the product, or it doesn't matter whether it's a massive passion, just not prepared to do the work to be interested in those customers and all that kind of stuff. So I think I think it's easier if you have got an interest, because you want to understand that whole, you know, like when I did the hoverboard thing, I became an expert in the end on hoverboard. I used to like screw them apart and like put them all back together and stuff, like a guy mechanic.
What you just said is I mean, what you just said is also really important for product development, which again, I'll have to do it on a different call, but understanding how to use your products is very, very important, so that you can understand then how to manufacture them later. But that's for a different time.
It's so just have that interest, or be interested in it. Like, you might not be an expert, it might not be your massive hobby, but be interested in that, because you can sell it more and everything.
If you don't have the interest in it, then you have to at least go and learn. And that when it comes back to understanding, your buyer avatar, because I think though that interest can be a great starting point, which leads me into one of my methods as well. So one of my methods for product research is using Hobbies, right? So I have this thing that I sometimes do with people, and I'm like, can you please give me 3 or 4 of your hobbies, right? Because what I've found in we could just do this right now. Every single hobby in this world, right? Every single hobby in this world has some sort of product that it's attached to. No matter what, whether it's, you know, swimming or dancing or painting, or if you're into magic, or if you're, you know, into whatever, like the weirdest things as well, right? Like I think yesterday I talked to you about insect pinning, right? And every single product, you need products for it. And not only that, there's niches within that, because let's just say if one of my hobbies is puzzles, right? Let's just say I like puzzles. There's puzzles for seniors, there's puzzles for mums, there's puzzles for dads, women, men, kids, different age groups in kids. Remember that kids isn't just like a 12-year-old. there's like toddlers, and then there's, you know, kids from between 5 to like 9-ish, where they're all about unicorns and dinosaurs. And then there's also, you know, from 10 to like 12, and then from 12 to like 18, there's different ad groups, not ad groups, there's different age groups, PPC, there's different age groups where they, you know, so I think that is one of my favorite product research methods. And if you don't have any hobbies, because sometimes people say, well, I don't like doing anything. And I'm like, well, that's really boring. But anyway, if you don't have any hobbies, then you can always go to Google and you can type in hobbies, and then
top 10 hobbies.
top 10 hobbies, or you can go just type in hobbies, and then Wikipedia will come out. And then Wikipedia has this list of like hundreds of different hobbies. They've got indoor hobbies, outdoor hobbies. They've got all these different hobbies. And that's where I found the insect pinning that I was speaking about when we were recording this live yesterday. And what I was saying about that is I found that there is like a hobby called insect pinning, where people actually collect dead insects and they pin them for God knows what reasons. But the point of why does that matter is because they need supplies for that. They buy these little kits for like the display of the insects and for the pins and all these weird things that I'm not going to, because it's a gross subject, but you know, gross, but there's people making a lot of money off these things, right? So we did this live, and I asked you yesterday live, you throw in there any hobby, right? And yesterday you said to me, well, we can do it again now, but you said to me yesterday, yoga. I was like, just give me any hobby. I can do this live. And I was like, thanks, Anna. That's the easiest one for me to do, because my next step.
In my head. I should have said stamp collecting.
I can do that as well, but I'll do the yoga thing, and then I'll do the stamp collecting with the, because I actually know stamp collectors, so I can, but if I didn't, it's also okay. So with what I do is, when I find a hobby, the first thing I do is I make a list of who can do this hobby, right? So men, and if it's a man, well, what type of men? Is it, you know, an athlete? Is it because like, I know that we said yoga. I'm just going to change the subject for 1 second. Let's just pretend if it was like if it was soccer, right? Then there's soccer products for athletes. There's soccer products for non-athletes. There's soccer products for kids. There's soccer products for seniors, right? That's why I also say athletes. But back to yoga. You know, so is it for men? Is it for women? If it's for women, is it for pregnant women? Is it for women after birth? Is it for women and kids together, like a mommy and you know, daughter thing? Is it just for a normal woman? Yeah, is it for teenagers? So, and then the next thing, is it for older women? And then the next thing is, for example, is it for kids, right? And if you would have gone about 6 months ago, and if you would have looked at kids yoga, you would have seen that everything on page 1 for yoga mats, for example, was just yoga mats for adults. There was nothing specifically for kids. Today, because I've spoken about this actually in a few different podcasts, there's quite a few now, like unicorns and all these different types of yoga mats. But, you know, 6 or so months ago, there were hardly any, but there was always search volume. Like if you looked on Helium 10, or if you go to the search frequency rank on brand analytics, there's always been searches for yoga mats, but people would straight away be like, but yoga is such a saturated niche. Well, no, it's not. You just got to dig deep into like the niches within the niches. So that is one of my product research methods. One of my favorites is the hobbies. And if you can't think of hobbies that you like, because sometimes I do this with someone and they'll be like, well, you know, I like, what was the example I used yesterday? I had a guy who said that his wife likes all sorts of different things to do with like witches and Wicca. And I don't know, all this weird stuff. And I was like, that's creepy. Kidding. But there's like, I was like, okay, let's go to Google and see what people that are into these creepy things, like what do they need?
And I think there's loads of stuff like that at the moment. People being at home and more valuing home, you know, doing like the whole puzzle niche has got huge, hasn't it? And, you know, chess and all those different things. So
chess, Queen's Gambit now is chess into
that. But, you know, you mentioned an important point about niche within a niche, because that's what I always teach around, because, you know, again, back in my day, you could just get, you know, a digital thermometer and slap a logo on it. and have no differentiation. And it didn't really matter if you were targeting mums, cooks, or anyone really. So it's really important to find your niche within that niche. So niching it down. And there's so many different things that you can niche down into. Like you've given all those different target audiences. You can also do it by material and quality and
supplies. I forgot to add supplies as well. What I mean, first of all, by material and quality, that's really good and smart. I also know that you have a bamboo brand as well. So you can also take a product that exists, but then make it out of a totally different, like eco-friendly or whatever it may be, different type of material. And it could also be for a totally different purpose as well. So yeah, that was one of my little golden nuggets. We may possibly give out, like, let's say another 1 or 2 each, and then we'll wrap it up. So Anna, what's another little golden nugget that you can give people for product research as sort of either a starting point or not using softwares?
So I think actually using Amazon's marketplace itself, because we haven't really answered that, have we, all discussed Amazon's marketplace and what information you can find out from their marketplace. And you've got the best sellers, which everybody teaches, don't they? But you can also look at the most gifted and also the most wished for. So don't just go to the best sellers, look a bit deeper and look at these other lists that are within there. And I won't steal your point, because I know you were talking about the reviewers, weren't you, yesterday as well, which I think is a really good idea.
Yes. The one thing that you can do with the best sellers is that you can see who the seller is and look at what other things they sell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you can find a niche that maybe they're not dominating in, and it can open your mind up to other things that you weren't even thinking about. But
it's interesting with everything that was said. It's just going online and researching, isn't it, really? But all of it is that I think people want shortcuts.
They do.
I mean, we all do. I do. We all want the quickest way to do something. But actually, by doing the work and looking at the competition, looking at the reviews, looking at just trying to fuel your ideas while you're brainstorming different kind of opportunities. But there's so much on Amazon's marketplace itself that you can find.
Yeah, I think that when we were doing this live yesterday, somebody wrote in the comments, it's easy for us because we've been doing this for so long. I just, and I didn't say this yesterday, but I'll say it now. I did think it though. I know people who've been doing this for longer than I have, and they're nowhere near as creative as I am. And it has nothing to do with how long you've been selling on Amazon. It has everything to do with either creativity or thinking outside the box and not following what everyone else is doing, you know? And I just remember that right now, because you said the shortcuts thing.
I don't want to bring in different tangents, but it's like, there's certain categories that you have to get ungated for on Amazon, like beauty, health and personal care. And I see a lot of people go, oh, I'm not going to do that niche then. It's like, do you want to swim with the tide or go against the tide? I'll just go for it, because I think if something's a little bit more difficult, then other people will give up. So I think I want my space, I want to do that. So it's, like you say, I think the only thing that comes with experience is maybe spotting trends for Christmas time. Sometimes you can spot things a little bit earlier than I used to be able to spot. But really, those are faddy type products anyway that most people you don't really want to go into, because you want to be building long-term brands. So I think we just overcomplicate it, and you just got to just think about, start with just one interest that you've got, and it doesn't have to be a massive passion. And then start researching on all of the things that we've mentioned today to really start fueling your ideas, and just be thinking about having that mindset, where is the opportunity? How can I be different? Why would someone buy my version of this, and just having that head on all the time as you're doing the search.
And problem solving.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was in this group
All of that.
once.
All
All,
of
all,
those.
all of that, all of the above. I was in this group once, and my son is left-handed, and I don't know why like that really matters, but I started reading about it, and anyway, I found like this whole niche around left-handed people, right? I didn't know that left-handed people could have their own type of like stationery and all these different things, like specifically for someone who's left-handed. And then I found like, you can find all these random problems that if you just spend a little bit of time reading about it, you'll find, products within that. Again, there has to be demand. People have to be searching for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I hate it when people say, well, everything on Amazon is saturated. And I'm like, no, it's not. You're just not looking in the right places. And people do not understand how important niching it down. And it's not that it's important. It just, in my experience, works when you niche it down. So going back to what you said about the Amazon marketplace, I think using Amazon, like you said, the best sellers and things like that is awesome. And the tip that you said that I said yesterday was using Amazon's top reviewers. Now, I will be honest, this is a method that I used to tell people to do often. I do it less now. And the reason is because it can get so overwhelming. You can sometimes be scroll. So if you go to Google and you type in Amazon top reviewers, you can see the like top 10,000 reviewers on Amazon.
Yeah.
They're like, they're given like, I was going to say medals, not medals. They're given ranks, right? Just like we have the bestseller rank, they're given like ranked 1, ranked 2, whatever. And if you go to like page 4 or 5, or just choose a random page so that you're not looking at page 1, because everyone that listens to this will go to page 1. And you look at the products that they're reviewed, you're basically getting a list of like a whole bunch of random products. Now, the only good thing about, well, it's not the only, one of the good things about this method is that if you're looking at many reviewers and they're reviewing the same types of products, that could be a sign that that's a saturated niche, right? But sometimes doing this, you can find a golden nugget. You can be like, hey, what is this product? Like, what does it do? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you can sort of, get into that as well. But the only reason that I do it less today is just because you've just got like these million different products. And, but I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just think that there's other ways as well.
Yeah. I used to target them to get for reviews.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't so much so anymore. So
now that we've got like Vine reviews and stuff like that, I don't.
It's changed, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think if I've got one last one.
I've actually got a few more, but I feel like we should do a follow-up for this one, because we've given a lot of little, I think, golden nuggets here. And also my husband just texted me that he's putting my son to bed and I want to say goodnight to him. For those of you who don't know, I also have a 3.5-year-old. So yeah, I think that let's do a follow-up for a part 2. We'll leave everyone in suspense of what else can they do, because we gave a lot of golden nuggets here. So we'll do a part 2
and
in a couple of weeks.
It also keeps the suspense going, because the other ones probably won't be as obvious, will they?
They won't be as obvious, and they're good. They're good ones. Right. I'll leave everyone with a hint that one of them was, how did I find the nurse's niche? And to be continued. So we'll speak about that and the next time. Anna, first of all, thank you so much for your time. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Just contact me on Facebook or Instagram is probably the easiest.
Which is just
Anna Davidson. So yeah, just private message me, or you can come and check out my stuff. I've got a few pages and groups and all that kind of jazz. So
and if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can find me also Sharon Evan on Facebook, or also on YouTube. Thank you all for listening, and have an awesome weekend. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.